Greetings and welcome to the BlastCast. I am Jarvis, and with me as always is the man who I exploded, Lightning Dragon.
And then it exploded.
More on that in one extra cast to come in the future. This week on Around the Verse, CIG discussed their throttle changes to the upcoming flight system. Now it appears that what they're doing is there are going to be two potential settings. One is a 50-50 throttle, at least that's what I call it. It's where the center is 0, and you push forward to accelerate, and you pull back past that middle point to activate the retro thrusters and go backwards or to stop. Now this kind of throttle is one that many pilots, real world or sim enthusiasts may not use on a regular basis since it's kind of counterintuitive to what we're used to. The other one that they offer as an optional setting is where you have it pushed all the way forward, you press a button, and what it does is it reverses the engine flow and you have to pull back, and as you pull back from the forward position, it will accelerate the retro thrusters to 100% as you pull back. Now to me this seems pretty intuitive. I'm probably going to be using this one. Elite Dangerous had one like this, but I remember when I was using it that when the throttle was pushed all the way forward and you flipped it, that the throttle would be set to reverse at 100%. It was one of those situations where you kind of had to quickly adjust. A suggestion by Hano in our Discord I thought was really great. What he suggested is that you hold down the reversal button and you're able to get your throttle into the position that you want, and when you release, you'll go ahead and kick on the afterburner. In the meantime, when you have the button pressed down, you're not accelerating, there's no change, it kind of locks the position. So you press the button, it locks, you move the throttle to a new position, and when you release it, it reverses the direction. I think that's a good idea because it would keep the throttle from having those weird moments where you flip it over and you're getting an extremely powerful or an extremely weak experience, and you get it set basically where you want it by the time you release it.
When Elite Dangerous first came out, because we're going to talk about that for a bit since we're mentioning controls, it did have some preset controls for X52 and I think one other thing that we had used. It pretty much got you off the ground right away, but I had a problem of mostly just where the buttons were configured to, like what certain buttons did. I mean, I spent maybe 20 minutes at least going through it, and every now and then after playing I go, you know what, this button would be a whole lot better to do this kind of action. If it's going to be a lot like Elite Dangerous in how the throttle control works, as long as there's some good button mapping, I don't think this is really going to be a problem because you'll be able to customize it to whatever you're most comfortable with.
Yeah, there's a lot of things about Elite Dangerous that I'm not really a big fan of, especially the Engineers expansion, but the thing is that they nailed controls and everything seems to feel like really smooth, and I'm hoping we can get that same kind of level of connectivity to our ships that we currently don't have. And while I don't expect it to fly the same as Star Citizen, in fact I would hope not, the thing is that they did controls right from day one. I don't think anyone who's played the game can argue otherwise. You may argue that the ships don't fly the way you like, and I would totally get that, but the controls, they nailed it. CIG also announced that Space Brake is back in. Now, some people are concerned about this. I'm going to remain neutral on this for now. It's one of those things I'm going to have to feel to see exactly how it is. Now, the reason it could be good is that people are using that 50-50 throttle. Finding that center point 0 can be kind of difficult. Being able to depress a space brake would allow you the time you need to find that exact 0. It can be good in that regards. In no way should that space brake exceed the thrust values of your ship in any way whatsoever.
If it's just a button to disable your throttle controls and set your retros to just equal 0, I don't have any problem with it. In fact, I'd probably want something like that. How many times are you like accelerating and then you realize, oh, wrong way, and you have to either reach over and grab your throttle if you're using a HOTAS or something, or you can just tap the space bar or whatever button it's going to be. Maybe you have a button on your HOTAS, and then you can just turn, stop, and then readjust as necessary.
Well, also because a lot of times people, when you watch sci-fi shows, for example, let's use Star Trek for example. I know these ships are a lot smaller, but most ships are going to have a all stop. You're just going to stop all motion. You're not going to go forward, backwards, up or down. And arresting all motion can be important if you're going to be getting out of your ship, for example, and you want to pick something up in space and salvage it. You don't want your kind of, oh, I didn't realize my ship was drifting, and you're in there for 20, 30 minutes, and you look out, your ship's like 20 kilometers away. You're like, oh, man. So it's good to have those kind of things where you can just tell the ship that, you want it to stop all relative motion and just hang out. It could be used in a very positive way. And I said, as long as it works within the confines of the ship's normal power settings, I think it can work, but we'll have to see how it goes, and it's one of those things, once again, I'm going to have to get my hands on before I can make any judgments on it. Now, there was a bit of controversy on the next one because they talked about how they were making decouple a button press, like a press and hold. And of course, the forums there were some categories that popped up where concerns were brought up about this. And even in my own Discord, there was a post later on today by A. Nicholson, and I'll put it up here. There's going to be an option in the options setting where you can make it actually a toggle instead of a hold. So you can still fly decoupled, so that's still in. Now, I like to make an alternate suggestion. You can fit two functions on the same button. For example, the hold, of course, would be the one where you're decoupling until you release, or you could have a quick tap or a quick double tap, and it will go ahead and just switch it to the full decoupled mode. This way you can map two functions to the same button without having to go into, an options setting to go ahead and just set it in there.
Or if you're using keyboard, you can have like a Alt plus button or something.
Yeah, and the reason for this is that sometimes there's a reason you just want a quick decouple and, a quick release and whatnot. And sometimes you want to keep it on, for a much longer period of time. And I think it would depend on the circumstance. Keeping everything on the same button, I think, would be easier for everybody. Otherwise, you'd probably have to map two buttons so you can get both functions.
Which, would be fine if you wanted to play that way, but the idea of having it where you click and hold it and it just detects that you haven't let go of the button, so it just leaves it on. I actually didn't think of that. I was just thinking more of in the options menu, you either have it as hold or toggle.
Yeah, that's the way they're talking about it here, but I think having the option where the button itself has two functions would be much more intuitive, maybe, or at least give you more options on the fly.
More options is always good.
CIG also showed off more of their ArcCorp moons that will be coming out in 3.5. These are looking extremely impressive, and I really look forward to cruising around on them, or at least taking a ground vehicle down until I manage to flip it over and
explode.
The more that I see them develop their planets, it's like every time they come out with another planet, it's like they ramp it up a notch. They keep stepping it up, and the development time on these, the turnaround is getting faster and faster, and the quality is getting higher and higher. It makes me think back to when they talked about the reason they don't have roads on the old planets and things is because the tech keeps getting updated. They go back and revamp the old planets a bit, so it makes perfect sense because, well, frankly, by the time they get ready to release the game, the old planets may look passé compared to the new ones, so they're probably going to want to rework those a little bit.
I wouldn't mind the idea of some of the planets being more like just scattered cities and like little outposts where like more busy planets actually have roads and things, because I like the idea of them just being like, hey, this planet's useful, but most of the stuff we want is like right here. Or I forget which moon it is. It's one of the moons that's already been mined almost completely out and all the life is dead already. Mm-hmm. Like, it makes sense that planet's basically all used up at that point. So why would there be roads everywhere?
Well, there could be roads there from when it was active, and they could be worn out and worn down because they're not maintained anymore.
Yeah, that'd be nice, actually.
A little bit of looks a little bit like Fallout or something.
Or Mad Maxy.
There you go.
Call it the Mad Max Moon.
And this week, CIG is going to be ramping up their shows again, so we are going to be getting a Reverse Diverse. I'm not sure if we're going to be getting anything else next week, but I guess we'll find out. Well, I hope you're enjoying our conversations and random chaos in the ExtraCast Blasts. And I put out an Empyrean video that I'm really happy about. We talk a little bit about some gaming news, and, well, I really like the ending I came up with. And, if you haven't watched it yet, feel free to check it out. Alright everyone, well, still not much news on the CIG front, so that's about everything for this week's BlastCast. Leave your comments and suggestions down below, and we will see you on the next one.
And Charis will read every single comment. I guarantee it.
Yeah, it's pretty true.
Bye-bye, everybody.